Did you hear the news? A new tech marvel is rocking the very foundations of capitalism, and the future for millions of Americans looks bleaker than ever. For the first time in history, a college student can type a sentence in a box and do the combined work of several coding engineers at once, endangering thousands of careers, while one AI lawyer can now service an average of 253 clients every single day, replacing entire law firms in a single moment. Even doctors are now at risk, as Health IT Analytics reports. An AI doctor just passed the U.S. medical licensing exam without any doctor input. And folks looking at retirement who ignore this new tech megatrend may just miss out on their last chance to catch up and even accelerate their retirement goals. Because starting today, the only way that folks can get ahead will be by using the latest technology that can identify a rare priming phenomenon that always occurs before a stock soars upward. Hi, I'm your host, Miriam Issa. As a journalist who has interviewed A-list actors and billionaire investors around the globe, I can tell you that my guest today may have the single most important retirement message of our lifetimes. Based on my research, this could be more historic than when the iPhone was first unveiled, or possibly even more impactful to your investments than the internet itself. And it's all thanks to a new era of intelligent tech. One which may be the only real solution left for millions of Americans who are now concerned about their financial futures. If you are one of the countless Americans who feels like the recent volatility may make it impossible to retire, or who feels like you may have fallen too far behind with no real way to make up huge ground, then I urge you to stay tuned. Because our special guest, Jason Bodner, claims that with a simple click of a mouse, every day can offer Americans the chance to catch up and accelerate their retirement goals, all by identifying a rare priming phenomenon that always occurs before a stock makes a massive run. Jason, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Miriam, thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be here. You know, I've worked for over 20 years to be able to share what I have in store for our viewers today. We've logged countless man-hours from some of the brightest minds in computer engineering, millions upon millions of dollars testing the accuracy of this system. Heck, I've even gone as far as uploading 30 of the brightest minds on Wall Street to further enhance the accuracy of this stock-picking technology. And that's why I call it smart tech.
You've put a lot of work into smart tech. I mean, this is your baby.
Oh, absolutely, it's my baby.
And that's fine and well, but what can it do for the folks at home?
Well, thanks to smart tech's ability to read priming signals that are imperceptible to the human eye, you could have been able to get ahead of some of the huge market moves before they happen. Like Centene, for example. Centene wasn't doing much before my smart tech spotted the hidden priming signals, but afterward, this stock surged for a 462% return like it was nothing.
Ooh, that's good enough to 5x someone's investment. Nothing to sneeze at. But is it consistent? In other words, can it actually produce these kinds of results more than once?
Well, Synopsys was the same way. In fact, this company was a dead stock for over 2 decades. I'm sure most people don't even know this stock existed. But then, once my smart tech spotted the hidden priming signals, it could have jump-started anyone's retirement with an 847% return. And Trade Desk, this one was even better. When my smart tech first spotted those priming signals in the Trade Desk, the stock was just under $9. But after the alert, investors in this stock could have seen an incredible 1,100% return.
And your smart tech was able to pick all of these winners? It was actually finding them and then selecting them before the big moves?
Oh, absolutely. And it's done this more times than I can count over my entire career. It's the easiest way to find consistent winners that I've ever come across. Now, the most important ingredient at play here is the priming signal itself, because these priming signals on stocks always appear before the biggest explosions in the market.
And are you getting these large returns using options or penny stocks?
No, no, neither. And we don't have to get involved in those risky kind of assets at all. We're entering a brand new era where technology can help accelerate our capabilities beyond anything we've ever experienced, even with low risk household stocks. And after watching AI recently experience its iPhone moment, where the whole world now has access to something that used to be reserved for only master programmers, and after watching how these kinds of technology are going to transform the way we do everything, from how we work to how we live to even how we make money, I knew that I had to go public and guide people into this new world that we're about to enter.
So you're going to show them the light.
I'm going to show them the reality. And I'm going to show it to you too, Miriam.
Oh, really? And what is that? How do you see reality, Jason?
Well, right now, Americans have an incredible chance to use technology to change their life for the better, to make more money than they ever thought possible, and to have that relaxed, laid-back, stress-free retirement they've always wanted. But I know change can be terrifying. And many folks, some of whom may be watching right now, will not embrace this new change the world is experiencing as we speak. Now, that means, unfortunately, they will only fall further and further behind.
And when you say that, who do you mean? Who exactly is falling behind?
Well, look at lawyers, not to pick on lawyers, but before now, parking tickets were real pain. You had to find a lawyer, pay them hundreds of dollars, spend hours in court, and maybe, just maybe, you win. You beat the ticket, right? But with the new era of tech we're now entering, all you have to do is pay an average of $12 a month, and guess what? That ticket could go away. That's because a new AI lawyer will actually fight the case for you instantly.
Okay, wait, I drive a lot in California and I do get a hefty amount of tickets. Just $12? There's no way that actually works.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure most lawyers thought the same thing when they heard it. In fact, I'm willing to bet some of them probably just laughed because the idea of it is so crazy. But the reality is, in 21 months, this AI lawyer has won over 160,000 parking ticket cases. Or in other words, this sole AI lawyer is winning 253 cases a day on average.
Wait, what? 253 cases every single day? There's no way that a lawyer or even an entire law firm could achieve results like that. I mean, even if they had hundreds of lawyers to win 100 cases every 8 hours, they would never be able to compete with $12. That's a very low price.
Yes, and that's why this AI's creator could be making anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 a month. Here's a prime example of what happens when you're on the right side of this new era we're entering.
And that era is what?
I can sum it up in a few words. The era of inhuman speed, inhuman performance, and inhuman results.
Inhuman speed, performance, and results. So you're saying that on the other side of the coin, the lawyers who are caught flat-footed are a prime example of what could happen if retirees don't adapt now, right?
Yeah, what do they say in the Marines? Adapt or die?
Right, basically. Right? Improvise, adapt, overcome.
That's it. Thank you. But if the law field doesn't adapt and overcome, they're going to be in trouble, right? Their very livelihoods are at jeopardy. And this divide, it's happening everywhere. It's making decades of skills and mastery obsolete virtually overnight. Have you heard the famous story about the Picasso napkin art?
I have, actually.
Oh, really?
I have.
Wow.
Yes, I have. You might not know it, Jason, but I am a very traveled woman.
I thought I'd surprise you. Well, of course you are. And I know you've done keynotes that have been voted most memorable on 3 different continents. I've heard that. So I know you're well traveled. I've done my research too.
I'm very impressed.
Well, would you mind sharing the story for our audience? You tell the story and I'll make my point.
Sure. So the story goes Pablo Picasso is hanging out at an open market in Paris when an admirer goes up to him and asks him if he could please do a quick sketch on a paper napkin for her. Picasso says sure, and he draws the now famous Dove of Peace that you see here. So before he hands her the napkin, he asks her for $10,000. Obviously, the lady is shocked. And she says, "What are you doing? How can you ask for so much money? It took you only 5 minutes to draw this." But Picasso calmly replies, "No, it took me 40 years to draw this in 5 minutes."
Yes, I couldn't have told that better myself, and you nailed it. But think of all that time and energy and effort it takes to become great. How long do you think it would take for someone to be able to paint this?
This? I don't know. Weeks, months, maybe?
Not even close. For Hugo and his team, it didn't take decades of practice, nor did it take him years of training. Instead, this work of art, it only took the push of a button.
Wait a minute. This art right here was made by AI?
That's right. And to top it all off, Miriam, Hugo and his team sold this instantly generated AI art for a whopping $432,000.
What? That is unfathomable. To be
can you
able to
believe
take a lifetime of experience and training down to the push of a button and then to make almost $500,000 from it. Ooh, okay, I can see it. I get what you mean when you say that we are entering a whole new world here.
Brave new world, that's right. And no industry is safe from this, Miriam. Healthcare, law, accounting, marketing, finance, heck, even pop stars aren't safe. Johnny Cash made his music for 11 years before anyone even knew his name. For Elvis, it took 8 years. But for Lil Miquela, an AI pop star, she became an overnight success with her very first song.
Okay, forgive me for not following along, but did you just say an AI pop star?
Yeah, it's a little crazy, but it's like a virtual singer, like a music artist that creates AI-generated music.
And it is already famous?
Big time. Just last year, this AI made their company nearly $9 million. And these kinds of stories are only going to be more and more common in 2023. Technology is now allowing people to accomplish phenomenal results with a fraction of the effort in a fraction of the time. And that can be true for folks' retirement accounts as well, because after today, after you see how much smart tech can spot a rare priming phenomenon that always occurs before a stock makes a massive move higher, this is something no human investor could ever do in our lifetime. After that, you will understand why I'm so confident that this smart tech could be the answer for anyone looking to catch up and accelerate their retirement.
Well, you've certainly presented a very convincing argument. I mean, an AI lawyer that can somehow handle thousands of cases for $12 a month on average, and then an AI musician that can produce million-dollar hits on command. It does seem that technology is improving at a rate that everyday people can't possibly compete with. So I'm sure the folks that are watching can see that this will impact more aspects of our everyday lives than we could possibly imagine. And if folks at home are thinking, well, what I'm thinking, they want to know exactly how your smart tech could improve their lives and mine and today.
Of course. Look, smart tech has the power to protect American retirement accounts and even grow them faster than anything we've ever seen before. Let's take what happened in January of 2022. For example, investors just got the worst news they ever could have gotten. The free money train was over. Interest rates were back, and the economy started tanking so fast it had everyone seeing the ghost of the 2008 recession. To make matters worse, we also saw war break out between Russia and Ukraine, right? Quite frankly, it was an impossible time for most investors to keep their cool, let alone make timely and prudent investments. However, on the other hand, I wasn't perturbed by all of this because on February 1st, my smart tech spotted priming activity in Occidental Petroleum, meaning it was set up to make a huge move. And sure enough, while most investors fell behind trying to navigate their first bear market in over 12 years, Oxy became the runaway #1 stock of the S&P 500, and it shot up by as much as 103%.
Wow, that's incredible. So, not only did smart tech give investors the chance to double their money in the most depressing economic environment that we've seen in recent history, right? But smart tech also would have gotten you ahead of the best performing stock of the year. And if I'm not mistaken, smart tech also would have gotten you ahead of Warren Buffett, because didn't Warren buy up to 20% of this company back in September?
You're absolutely correct. And smart tech could have helped you get ahead of the Oracle of Omaha by at least 6 months. And it wouldn't be the first time it beat some of the best experts on Wall Street either. Now, for example, back in February of 2020, Matt Maley, the chief market strategist at Miller Tabak, went on CNBC to proclaim Tesla was going to get absolutely clobbered. And he wasn't alone on that Tesla bashing party either. Jim Chanos, the man who famously shorted Enron, he told the Wall Street Journal he was never going to stop betting against Tesla. Even Steve Eisman, one of the legendary investors who called the 2008 real estate bubble, he was shorting Tesla too.
Wow, these are very big names. So I imagine that when some folks saw what these very famous investors had to say, they probably bailed out of the stock.
Yeah, and it's not their fault if they did either. After all, it'd be easy for anyone to look at what these accomplished investors had to say about Tesla and think to themselves, maybe these guys know something that I don't, right? And when you add the COVID crash into the mix, it's pretty easy to panic altogether. But my smart tech didn't miss out due to Wall Street's shenanigans, nor did it panic due to the market crash. Instead, for all of January, my smart tech was practically begging for investors to get in because it saw against popular wisdom that Tesla was primed to go on an epic run. And sure enough, in the following months, my smart tech was proven right yet again as Tesla ripped for a 700% gain by the new year.
I feel bad for anyone who listened to the mainstream media on that one. They would have missed out on a great chance to catch up on their retirement goals.
Yes. And if you thought that was bad, wait till you hear this next Tesla story. Miriam, you see, back in 2016, Jim Chanos cost Americans the retirement of a lifetime when he told everyone that Tesla was the anti-Amazon and it's going to continue losing money. He even compared Tesla to Valiant Pharmaceuticals, the stock that plummeted by 90%. But if my smart tech could talk, it would have laughed at Jim, because on January 3rd, 2017, my smart tech indicated to us that Tesla was primed. Remember that priming signal. And the rest, as they say, is history. Since then, Tesla has skyrocketed by as much as 2,664%. So, in other words, this market move would have helped anyone catch up with their retirement goals with a whopping 26x gain. That's enough to turn every $5,000 into over 6 figures. Meanwhile, those sad Tesla bears on Wall Street, they lost as much as $40 billion betting the other way.
Oh, 40 billion? How in the world could Wall Street get something so wrong? I mean, these guys are pros. They are the best in the world. After all, these are the same guys who called the fall of Enron and even the 2008 crash. And yet, your smart tech is making them look like amateurs. It even got ahead of one of Warren Buffett's biggest investments yet by 6 months. So how is all of this possible?
Good question. Well, in order for you to understand that, you first need to know why I built this smart tech in the first place. And that means I got to tell you a little bit about my most embarrassing moment as a trader. The moment I became my boss's personal punching bag on the trading floor. I'm laughing because it's funny. You see, when I started as a trader back in July of 2001, I was like most folks. I didn't have experience in the stock market whatsoever. In fact, just before I was getting hired as a trader, I was a professional musician. I wrote music for fashion shows and ballet recitals, and I was playing in a rock band. I was performing on the side.
Somehow you were hired, though? What was it, your sterling personality? No offense.
Must have been. Maybe the smile. Maybe they knew music was math. I'm not really sure.
That's actually a decent point. Well, whatever it was, something about you got their attention.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, generating a profit was not one of those reasons. Because in my first 21 days of trading, I couldn't have been a worse trader if I tried. Literally. Greedily chasing a stock that was ripping higher? Guess what? I did that. Buying a falling stock because I got a gut feeling it would turn around? That was me too. Following the herd into a crowded trade? Add that to the list as well. Point is, I can go on and on about all the mistakes I made because I made them all. What it really boiled down to was that I could not handle my emotions as a trader. In fact, I was so bad at it, and this is the embarrassing part, my boss openly took the opposite position for every trade that I made. He saw how bad I was and he saw an opportunity to make money. He didn't even bother looking at the stock or researching the position. All he knew is that I was in the trade, so he put money down betting the other way.
Jason, wow, that's so sad and really embarrassing. But I get the feeling that things got somehow worse.
Yeah, they got a little worse, maybe a whole lot worse, because for 19 of those 21 days, I essentially got the pleasure of handing my boss over every single dollar that he ever paid me. Because while I was losing thousands of dollars on my trades, my boss made a ton of money taking the other side. All of my intuitions, my gut instincts, and my emotions took me further and further in the wrong direction into the hole. And after that punishment, I couldn't bear the thought of ever trading again. I mean, even just thinking about trading was enough to churn and make my stomach sick. So I went back to being a broker. I took orders by phone and I placed other people's trades.
Sheesh. After that beating, I don't blame you. I think anyone would have quit after that.
I almost did. And I tried to actually, but one day, this big client requested that I track unusual trading activity in all 2,800 European stocks that traded across all the European exchanges. And because it was impossible to look at thousands of stocks all day long, every day, let alone just identify that unusual activity with the naked eye, so I built a machine to do it for me. I wanted it to do the work instead.
Wait a minute. Didn't you say that you were a musician before you ever became a trader? Because I didn't know that you knew how to code.
Well, I didn't. But yes, I was a musician before I was a trader, but I didn't know how to code. But I was more than happy to figure it out because with a machine handling all this investment analysis, it means that I didn't have to get my emotions involved with trading ever again. I didn't have to rely on that gut instinct, which would steer me wrong anyway. Or I didn't have to rely on feel like most traders do. And the early results, I gotta tell you, they were mind-blowing. So over the years, I sharpened that tool more and more, a little bit every year. I poured tons of money and uploaded some of the brightest minds into the formulas.
So you mentioned that earlier, uploading the smartest minds into your system. What exactly does that mean?
I knew you were gonna ask me that. Well, over the course of my career, I've had the pleasure and the good fortune of working with and learning about some of the most brilliant minds in investing. And I'm talking about investors who wrote dissertations on Sallie Mae before it went bankrupt. And I studied people like that turtle trader, Richard Dennis. He was legendary. He helped 23 ordinary people become millionaires. And I was huge into Bill O'Neill, the investor who founded Investors Business Daily. Each of these guys, plus all the others that I worked with and studied, had their own unique philosophy and their own rules around investing. I broke down them all of their models, all their rules, and I used them to build the rules that govern my own system. Think of it like ingredients in a soup. And all of this was with the goal to make its investing decisions smarter and smarter until it was doing most of my thinking for me.
It was basically thinking for you. And now we have what you call smart tech.
Exactly. And the results of this machine have been unlike anything I've ever seen since. It seemed like no matter what kind of market turmoil we experienced, this smart tech was able to spot that priming activity I talked about. The kind of activity that would set a stock to explode for massive gains. And that's crucial because in my experience, human emotion is the number one reason most people fail to capitalize in the markets. It was my number one reason. Again, let's take what happened in May 2022, for example. Investors thought they had nowhere to hide, right? The S&P 500 was tanking. The NASDAQ falling faster than a sack of rotten potatoes, or whatever you want to call it. It was so bad that CNBC called the stock market a meat grinder of forlorn hope for investors. Think of that.
Wow, that quote will go down in history. But then again, a bit dramatic, don't you think? I mean, meat grinder of forlorn hope? Who talks like that?
Right? The media, that's who. You know why, right? You know why? Because they're always going to benefit from playing on your emotions.
They are monetizing our fear.
Yes.
And I do think we've noticed that before.
Exactly. And based on all the bad news, almost 40% of investors took their money out of the markets in just that month alone. I even wrote a paper about it. However, the beauty of smart tech is that it doesn't have that same emotional pressure that you and I feel.
Right. It has all the rules from the brilliant minds that you uploaded into it, but none of their emotional weaknesses.
Right. All it cares about is isolating and identifying specific priming activity that sets a stock apart from the rest of the herd. That's all I care about. The kind of activity that means a stock could soon explode for massive gains. That's why I built it. That's why my smart tech wasn't fazed by the bad press at all. Because instead, Miriam, in the following month, it identified that stock ticker ELF was primed to go on a huge run.
ELF? I don't think I've heard of that one before.
Well, it's not a popular stock for most investors, but they make beauty supplies, I think.
Oh, I know what company that is. I call it ELF. I'm literally wearing their blush as we speak. I just never heard of an investor talk about it.
Well, yeah. Well, this company, in my world, it rarely makes headlines, right? But what I do know is that what happened with ELF has happened more times than I can count over my 20 years of trading in the markets. Ever since my smart tech identified this stock, ELF ripped higher for a 102% gain in just the following 7 months.
Wow, 102% in 7 months. That's another triple-digit gainer, and in the middle of a bear market, no less. I'm sure those investors who bailed out of the markets would have loved the chance to double their money.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have, right? But like I said, the stock market is a highly emotional game, and most people lose lots of money due to their emotional impulses, right?
But smart tech doesn't have that problem.
Not at all. It doesn't have emotions at all, and I designed it that way. Instead, no matter what kind of market turmoil we experience, no matter what kind of conditions we're in, this smart tech just knows how to spot priming activity before a big move happens, which is why it's great for me, because in these kinds of markets, emotions run high, and I know from firsthand experience, emotions will absolutely wreck your portfolio. It wrecked mine, right? Now, let's just take what happened back in March of 2020, for example. As far as we knew at the time, the world was practically ending. COVID-19 was going to destroy life as we knew it. Lockdowns had commenced. We were stuck in our homes. It's like science fiction. Toilet paper had become more scarce than gold. Crazy. Like, you can't even write this stuff. And investors, they were fleeing to the hills. In fact, I can't remember a time where I saw more mainstream articles saying we were about to enter a new Great Depression, right? But if you had this smart tech at your disposal like I do, you wouldn't have paid any attention to that negative news at all, because on March 24th, 2020, in the depths of pure market despair, my smart tech identified Enphase Energy as one of those prime stocks.
Wait, Enphase, an energy stock at that time? That's insane. I mean, didn't oil make headlines right around then for going to negative for the first time in history?
Well, that's right. And normal people probably heard this and dumped every kind of energy stock right on that gut reaction, right? Get out. And that's why I'm so confident no one was even looking at Enphase before it was primed to rip higher.
Except your system. So your system didn't fall for any of the bad news. It didn't even panic, of course. Instead, it stayed impossibly cool, calm, collected, and it just knew that on March 24th, end phase was ready.
Exactly. And not only that, smart tech helped me predict the bottom of the crash and actually predict when the market would bounce back within days of it happening. And if any of my followers would have been able to see what my smart tech spotted, they would have been in for the joyride of their life. In a little over a month, end phase would have given investors nearly double their money back. Miriam, in a little over 6 months, investors would have tripled their money. And by the new year, end phase would have made investors 5 times their money.
Jason, why didn't we know each other then? I mean, imagine that. Even in the most dreadful market conditions where everyone else is losing their mind and their shirt, you could have made 5x your starting stake without even losing a wink of sleep over it?
Now do you see why I'm so confident that anyone can use this kind of technology to catch up and accelerate their retirement goals?
Yeah, I think so. You're pointing out the problem of emotions.
Totally.
And I agree. The problem is most folks have to deal with not only finding the right stocks, but also their emotional impulses and of course the influence from the mainstream media, which only exacerbates your emotions. I think everyone watching at home can definitely relate to that. We've all been there. It can feel scary when it's something important to us, our money. When the stakes are so high and we're trying to anticipate where the puck is heading, handling all of that at once, that's a lot. It can be very scary, and our emotions can get the better of our decisions.
That's exactly right, Miriam, and I love the Gretzky reference. Look, with smart tech by your side, a regular human being can finally spot that priming activity across a universe of stocks that most people have never even heard of. And all the while avoiding that emotional turmoil that most folks struggle with. I struggle with it, right? Let's get it out of there. That's why the system exists. And we're able to ignore all that dangerous media noise too. Let's just take what happened on July 18th. It was 2018, for example. We were in the middle of a trade war. You remember that? The market was throwing a temper tantrum, and we now call it taper tantrum 2.0. And the news, they had investors in a panic, and they were saying, we're looking at the mirror of a 1987 Black Monday crash. I mean, talk about drama. In fact, investors rushed to pull out a total of $30 billion from the markets in June alone. But when I got the alert for the trade desk in July, I wasn't worried about any of that noise because the next few years saw the trade desk explode for as much as 1,100%.
Wow, 1,100%.
Yeah.
Man, if I could have 11x gain right now, I'm sure I would sock away some for my retirement, but I would definitely go ahead and enjoy a very nice vacation. All right, Jason, do these kinds of returns happen all the time?
Well, I'm sorry to say, but smart tech does not always generate an 11x return. I'm not a wizard, okay? And I can't say that it's perfect either. But you know the old saying, past performance is not indicative of future results, and you should never invest more than you can afford to lose, right? That's great wisdom for everyone. However, what I can say is that if we go back to when the Federal Reserve first turned the stock market into a financial nightmare for most investors, my smart tech was able to identify as many as 98 triple-digit winners in that time frame. Now, as you can plainly see, if you had this smart tech at your disposal, you didn't have to sit in the S&P 500 and just watch idly while you took a soul-crushing 24% loss, right? You didn't have to be one of the countless investors that the media reported lost as much as $34,000 in their 401k. Like, imagine that. You don't have to leave your money in cash either and have inflation slowly eat it away or even quickly eat it away at this pace. Instead, you could have easily weathered the storm and started catching up and accelerating your retirement goals in the process.
I'll say, from everything I've seen so far, this makes all the other mainstream retirement methods, frankly, look like a joke. After all, I can't think of any other investment that would generate a 100% gain in just 6 months. Come on. or simply give folks peace of mind in a bear market.
Now, Miriam, that's right. If you wanted something extra low risk like playing in dividends, you'd need to hold a company like Coca-Cola for 33 years just to see a triple-digit return. And with bonds, even with the high interest rates that bonds are benefiting from in this environment, it would still take nearly 16 years to do what smart tech could have done in just 6 months. And even with real estate, you would still have to wait an average of almost a decade to double your money, if you're lucky. For the people who want to catch up and accelerate their retirement goals, they don't have 10 years to wait for success. They need a solution right now.
Absolutely. And I'm starting to see how your smart tech could be the answer that people desperately need, especially if they hope to make up for any lost ground.
Yes. In fact, 3 of smart tech's recent picks were up over 30% in just under 6 months.
Come on. Wow. Compared to 10 years in real estate, I will take it. However, there is one thing that I still don't quite understand. What exactly makes this technology so accurate? Even in volatile market conditions, this smart tech is always identifying companies that are primed to shoot up for 100% or more in returns. And it's not just a recent thing either. Like you showed us, it's been doing this for over years now, over and over again. So what is it that this technology somehow sees that the everyday investor does not or cannot?
Great question. And this goes back to the new era we were talking about that we're about to enter, right? The era of inhuman speed, inhuman performance, and inhuman results. We talked about it before. And the people who adapt quickly to this new era, who adapt to these new technologies which will enable us to do impossible things, things we didn't even dream were possible, they will have an edge unlike anything we've seen before. For example, in healthcare, AI was able to help doctors analyze over 20 million oncology studies in just 10 minutes in order to save one of their patients' lives. Just think about that. Even if a doctor could read one oncology study per minute, which is already impossible, right? As it is, we know that, it would still take them over 38 years to accomplish that and save their patient's life. That's not time anybody has, right? In law, another AI lawyer was able to cut 360,000 hours of billable time. We're talking about 173 years of work, multiple lifetimes of work, cut down to mere seconds. Managing law partners who use this technology will make mincemeat of their competitors who don't, right? Adapt or die. And with art, we can now just type what they want in the box. People can type what they want in the box and get award-winning art drawn in the blink of an eye. Just look, earlier this week, I typed in Castle by Moonlit Beach into an AI art generator, and like magic. Now, Miriam, it used to take a lifetime of practice for only a special set of individuals who were talented enough to do it, no less, to draw these pieces of art. But with these special technologies, now, even everyday folks like Jason McKenzie are winning art competitions with AI-generated art. How cool is that?
Oh, I remember this story. Many of the artists felt like they'd been robbed, and I kind of get it. Some were even saying that they had just witnessed the death of art. And with how fast we saw this AI whip up new art, I mean, I could see why these artists feel that way. They can't even begin to compete.
That's exactly right. And this is a new world we're living in, like it or not. And that's what my smart tech allows everyday Americans to do, to compete. It'll be no different. But I digress. Look, I got off this subject. We talked about doctors and lawyers again because this is so exciting. But you had a question, right? Smart tech can comb through millions of data points faster than any one human ever could. Not only that, it can do this for all 6,000 stocks on the market that I look at in the blink of an eye. And starting today, thanks to smart tech's inhuman capabilities, everyday Americans will now be able to do what was once considered virtually impossible.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's simple. You see, before today, folks had no real shot of finding a winning stock on their own. In fact, according to research done by a renowned professor, Out of 26,000 stocks ever listed in the history of the stock market, only 4% of them generated all the market returns above Treasury bills.
Wait a minute. Only 4%? What happens if you invested in the other 96% of stocks that are out there?
Well, let me put it to you this way. If you missed out on those 4% of stocks, you literally wasted your time and money. The other 96% of those stocks couldn't even meet or beat a bond.
Wow, geez. So if the folks at home truly want to catch up and accelerate their retirement goals, they have to find these rare stocks above all else.
Yes, exactly. To really catch up and accelerate your retirement, you have to target what I call 4%er stocks.
So what do these 4% stocks have to do with smart tech specifically?
Well, everything, to be honest, because much of the data driving our unique priming signals are heavily influenced by the data found from these 4% stocks. The only stocks that delivered all of the market returns above treasuries, like I just said. And that requires screening literally millions of data points and fast.
That's incredible. Only 4% of stocks generate all the market returns, and the rest couldn't even outperform bonds. From what we've seen today, I think it's becoming quite clear that this is the kind of task that, frankly, no human brain could compete with in this new era of technology. We already saw how the most legendary names on Wall Street can get it completely wrong. And then we saw your smart tech pick an energy stock at a time where, to the average Joe, understandably, it would have made no sense at all. I mean, come on, seriously? It was able to find one of the best returning energy stocks, even as oil went negative for the first time in history. That one, frankly, blows my mind. And that explains how it even helped you spot 98 triple-digit winners, even in the middle of the first bear market we've seen in over 12 years. So the only question left is how? How does smart tech always seem to spot these rare winning stocks?
And that's where that priming activity comes in. It's like I told you earlier. Priming activity always appears before the biggest explosions in the market, which means if you can spot the priming activity,
then you can find the 4% stocks, the only winning stocks in the market, apparently.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And thanks to my smart tech's ability to sift through an inhuman 1 million stock data points or more for all 6,000 stocks every night while people sleep, and data points which, by the way, were only discoverable by the handful of people who manage the largest order flow information in the world. All this, all with the click of a mouse. I know exactly what activity primes a stock to explode higher and higher. Just like I've shown you today, with other new technologies, I open my program and click my mouse and boom, it's like an AI painting, only it's 4%er stock.
Wait a minute, am I seeing a prime stock right now? It was that simple?
That simple.
Wow.
It really is. And this is the era we're now living in. The era of inhuman speed, inhuman performance, and inhuman results. And I'm sorry to say, but no human can compete with this. Folks who don't accept this reality are simply going to fall further and further behind. The gap between the haves and the have-nots, people, it's not going away. It's only going to get much, much worse. The middle class has been shrinking for years, and I believe this new era we're entering in today might be the final nail in the coffin. You're either in or you're left out in the cold.
Man, I wish I saw it differently. I wish there was another way. But with everything that we've seen today, I don't know if anybody can actually argue with what you're saying. As exciting as this all is, it's also really scary.
Yeah, well, that's why we're here today, Miriam. In just a second, I'm going to share how our viewers can get in on this prime stock in just the next 5 minutes.
Okay, well, that is very exciting. And if this next stock is anything like Smart Tech's 98 triple-digit winners in one of your recent portfolios, then I am confident that this one stock will not disappoint. However, before you share those details, could you please reveal what some of the priming signals are? Like, is it some kind of technical setup or maybe some kind of fundamental shift? I don't know. It has maybe something to do with institutional investors?
Well, I'm afraid it's a little bit more complicated than that, but you kind of hit the target. But to make it easy for everyone to understand, think of it like Moneyball, but for stocks. I love that story. Do you ever see the movie Moneyball?
Starring Brad Pitt, of course I did.
Yes, well, just like Paul DePodesta, the Oakland A's, and he used quantitative statistical analysis to give players a score based on their actual winning value to a pro baseball team. Well, my smart tech, it works exactly the same way for stocks. It quantitatively analyzes, or in other words, it performs deep mathematical analysis on 29 fundamental and technical variables in order to assign a score to every single stock. And if the stock score is over 75, then we know, in general, it's a prime stock set to go higher and higher.
Interesting. So it just needs to be over 75? It doesn't have to be like, I don't know, 95 or 98 or something like that?
Nope. Virtually no stocks ever receive a score that high. I've even had success with stocks just above 65. And we've still seen an incredible winner after winner. Take what happened in September 2019, for example. So when I ran my smart tech one morning, GNRC ranked at the top of the list with a score of 82.76. Now, that's 82, not 92, because it's extremely rare a stock is going to have that kind of a total score, which means, in technical terms, through a unique combination of data points like debt levels, PE ratios, enterprise value, profit margins, and over 25 other fundamental and technical variables, Generac was primed to pop. And sure enough, ever since GNRC received that score of 82, it would have given investors 5 times their money in the years to come.
5 times. $1,000 would have turned into 5,000.
Yes, and the same thing happened with the trade desk too. When my smart tech gave the trade desk a green light with a score of 84.48, it meant only one thing. Thanks to a unique combination of 29 technical and fundamental variables, my smart tech knew this stock was primed to go on an epic run when my system spotted it. And sure enough, thanks to the inhuman data processing capabilities of this smart tech, you could have enjoyed an 11x thrill ride.
Oof. We should name it. Call that trade the 11x thrill ride.
I love it. And this isn't even the best one I have under my belt.
Oh, it gets even better?
Oh, yes. You see, on April 11, 2017, after analyzing over 1 million data points for those 29 different technical and fundamental variables that I talked about, my smart tech graded SolarEdge with a stock score of 75.86. Now, by now, you should know what that means.
I think I do. That SolarEdge was primed to explode.
Exactly. And what I did next with this information was probably one of the boldest things I've done in my career.
Yeah? What is it?
Well, after I got that signal, within about a week, I told a room full of investors at a conference in Palm Beach, Florida, to buy this stock as if it were the only company in the world.
I don't think I understand. Why was that so scary for you?
Probably should have mentioned this. I had never even heard of this company before, but I went out on a stage in front of a bunch of wealthy investors and told them to buy it like it was the last stock on the earth. I was going solely off the output of my smart tech.
Wow, I see. Like the last stock on earth, such conviction for a stock you'd never practically heard of. So you were recommending a stock to a room full of very experienced investors with tons of money, risking your reputation and name, all because your smart tech said to do it.
Yep. And honestly, that is the whole point. What good is smart tech if you can't trust it? I want it to do all the heavy lifting and thinking for me, and I trust in its intelligence.
And how did that work out?
Well, if any of those wealthy investors listened, they could have easily caught up and accelerated, possibly even exceeded all of their retirement goals, because SolarEdge soared for an extraordinary 2,200% return.
What? Man, your smart tech makes it look so easy. All you have to do is open your program, click a button, and then smart tech runs through over 1 million data points and shoots you a score. And if the score is over 75, boom, you know the stock is primed to run.
Yeah, better yet, I don't even have to click a button. It runs while I sleep. I just click a button to get the report in the morning. But now you understand why I believe without smart tech, there's no way you could ever find these kinds of moves before they happen. With one stock alone, there's just too much data to sift through and make sense of. And to quantitatively analyze all of that data to perform that deep mathematical analysis on all 29 variables on 6,000 stocks every single day, to find that those crucial 4%er stocks that make up all the returns in the market, honestly, it would be impossible, Miriam. But thanks to this new era we're in, the era where smart tech can allow everyday folks to experience inhuman speed and inhuman performance and inhuman results, like I said before, all you have to do is let smart tech score every stock, and then we'll know exactly which stocks are primed to explode.
And you said that there's one stock right now that passes all of smart tech's checks?
Yeah, well, this stock doesn't just pass them, it destroys them all. And it makes all other stocks look like the minor leagues. The score today is very strong on this stock. In fact, you should be seeing the data on the screen right now.
Wow, it clears your smart tech's primed grade like it's nothing, which means only one thing. If it's anything like these past market gains, like your smart tech's 5x pick on Generac Holdings, or the 11x thrill ride on Trade Desk, as I named it, or especially like your 23x pick on Solar Edge Technologies, then this could be the start of something special. So starting today, we could soon see a new wave of retirees who use smart tech's stock picking abilities to catch up and accelerate their retirement goals.
Absolutely. In fact, the truth is they could end up reaching those retirement goals faster than they thought possible. Remember, Miriam, once we see primed activity, it usually means a big move follows. And with the kind of score this stock has, then that means this move could happen at any moment. That's why I want to rush our viewers an email with all the details of this smart tech stock pick. Here's what you can look for. You should see it on your screen right now. As long as you follow these few simple steps listed in the email, you'll be in position to ride one of the only stocks on the market that could truly help you catch up and accelerate your retirement goals. And this email with smart tech's next pick, it's just the beginning.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more. You see, I'm serious about showing retirees how to make up ground that they may have lost in the 2022 meltdown. Because I know, especially in times like these, it's easy to lose hope, right? It's easy to feel like you may have fallen too far behind to catch up. And giving up is honestly, it's the worst thing you can do.
Thank you for saying that, especially since there is now a powerful solution with your unique smart tech that can truly help anyone accelerate their retirement goals.
Right. Just take me, for example, right? If smart tech could help someone like me, someone who traded on intuition and emotion and then lost all my money to my own boss, if it could help a guy like me prepare for the laid-back, stress-free retirement I've always wanted, then I know this could be the answer retirees need right now. And that's why today, for the first time ever, I packed this entire revolutionary strategy into a brand new service I'm calling the Quantum Edge Trader. Starting today, just like the name suggests, everyday folks can be part of the only research service in the world that I know of that leverages the power of smart tech to instantly scan over 1.3 million data points. That mathematically shifts and analyzes over 29 technical and fundamental variables, offering a quantitative edge that rivals some firms on Wall Street, all to find the handful of prime stocks that have the potential to truly accelerate your retirement goals.
That sounds incredible, Jason. So how does this service work? For example, will they need to learn about how to use some kind of software?
No, not at all. No software. Instead, every day at 2 a.m., my cloud-based smart tech program scans over 6,000 companies and collects every consequential variable like price action, volatility, sales activity, volume, market cap, debt levels, and there are a whole host of others. Then, after analyzing all this data, I have my smart tech filter out those 96% of stocks that we don't want to pay attention to.
Only leaving the companies with the highest scores possible For example, like the 4% stocks that you described earlier.
Right. And after that, I run it through some checks and give it a final human review. Once I see a smart tech pick primed to explode, I'll send a simple email to your inbox with easy to follow instructions on what steps to take next, along with a quick summary of my analysis. Then, if you decide to act, you can place a simple trade and get back to your life.
But what about when it's time to sell?
Well, I'll track each trade and let you know when it's time to sell. It's that easy to get started, about as easy as checking your email.
I love that you have dedicated an entirely new service to this technology. After seeing what these new technologies can do, from one AI lawyer servicing an average of 253 clients every single day, to doctors having an AI do nearly 40 years of research in 10 minutes, it's clear to me now that without a service like yours, one that lets us tap into the power of smart tech to inform our investment decisions, we would stand no chance in this new world that we are entering. However, what would you say to people who are still on the fence about this brand new initiative? I mean, we've covered a lot of ground tonight, I will say, and I bet that there are a few folks who feel a little unsure about how all of this works and what the learning curve is.
Right. Okay. Fair. But to be candid, I'm making it as easy as it gets to take advantage of smart tech. Look, you don't need one of those powerful supercomputers, and you don't need any special software. Just a regular brokerage or retirement account will do. You don't even have to worry about running it. You just have to check your email. I'll issue buy recommendations that tell you when it's a perfect time to get in, and I'll alert you when it's time to sell.
That does sound very easy to follow. It's comforting to know that your smart tech is tested and proven.
Yeah, that's a good point too. And I think it's important for you to know that this has nothing to do with options, and we don't go anywhere near risky penny stocks.
Also, question. So your recommendations will be for larger companies. Can those stocks actually move that high that fast?
Yes, absolutely. A $10 billion company can easily turn into a $20 billion company in a short time. It happens all the time. And all the examples I've shared today prove that stocks like that can easily double.
All right. So does someone need a ton of money to get started?
No, absolutely not. There's certainly no minimum requirement to get started. If you have the time to place a simple buy order once every couple of weeks, you can succeed with Quantum Edge Trader.
What about folks who aren't very tech savvy? Like, what if this isn't as simple as you think? I mean, you already know how to use smart tech, but not everyone does.
Well, that's true, but to get in on smart tech trades, you just need to be able to check your email. Look, I get it. Starting something new can feel a little confusing or even intimidating at first. So over the past few weeks, my team and I created a comprehensive in-depth video training series called Quantum Edge Masterclass. Inside this extensive masterclass, you'll discover the ins and outs of my entire smart tech process. Everything from what market mechanics my system analyzes to how it breaks down a company's fundamentals, and even how other investors' actions could influence the stock. My priority is to show you the right way to look at the market in today's new tech age. Again, while all investments carry risk, you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. My goal is to give you the chance to position yourself to catch up and build the portfolio that you deserve.
That sounds great.
And even better, Miriam, for those who prefer to absorb new information by slowly reading and digesting the insights at their own pace, we've put together the same valuable content into a special report called the Quantum Edge Trader Handbook. This is the official owner's manual for the Quantum Edge Trader.
I've got to hand it to you. You're really making it super easy to tap into the power of smart tech and give folks at home a chance to watch their personal investments finally take off. Now, is there anything else that people get by joining this incredible service today?
Actually, there is. You see, I get new lists of primed activity stocks every single week, and about 3 to 15% of the stocks on that list are what I call persistent performers.
Ooh, I like the sound of that, persistent performers. But what exactly is a persistent performer?
Right. Well, it's persistent as in it's consistently showing up on my list of top picks. And the more often a stock shows up as a persistent performer, the more likely it is to win. Take that ELF, for example, I showed you earlier. Our records indicate this stock showed up at the top of the list over 14 times while it could have doubled your money. And Enphase was the same way. Enphase showed up at the top of the list 11 times while it exploded for 5 times your money. SolarEdge showed up at the top more times than I can even count.
And we all saw how that could have transformed anyone's retirement account. I mean, that was the stock that soared 2,200% after you recommended it on stage. Buy it like it's the last stock on earth, I think you said.
That's right, that's right. And right now, there are 3 stocks in particular that keep showing up on that top of my persistent performers list. Time and time again, the system continues to flag these stocks as great buys, which means each of these 3 stocks are poised to soar in the coming weeks and months. I want my new charter members to benefit from their potentially meteoric rise. So, as an added bonus to accepting my invitation, I'm packing all 3 stocks, their ticker symbols, and a complete breakdown of each company in a special report I'm calling the 3 persistent performers to watch right now. And I'm giving that to every new charter member of my brand new Quantum Edge Trader service absolutely free.
Again, Jason, that is incredibly generous. Not only are you rushing your charter members an urgent buy recommendation straight from your smart tech machine, but you're also giving them 3 additional stocks that keep bubbling up to the top of your list. Now, what more could we ask for today?
Well, there's one more thing I want to do for those deciding to become a charter member right now.
Really? More?
Yes, more. You see, just like my system tells me which stocks are the persistent performers, the very best stocks that are primed to soar, my smart tech also helps me avoid the repeat offenders. Or in other words, the stocks that are consistently primed to dump.
Oh, that would be helpful. So these are basically the opposite of persistent performers. These are the stocks that often have a low score and could sink your account, which we don't need.
You got it exactly right, which is more useful than you can even imagine because sometimes these stocks are incredibly popular retail traps, like Wayfair, for example. When Wayfair first hit the repeat offender list, you couldn't get out fast enough. This stock tanked immediately for 42% and then continued dropping even more for over 64%.
Oh, that's sad. I've used Wayfair before and I enjoyed it, but I never knew that the stock was in such bad shape.
Me too. But most folks invest with that feeling too, right? I like this company. They do great things. But there are so many important factors that influence stock price. Look, we saw the same thing happen with Rivian. I'm sure people out there chased this electric car company hoping it would be the next Tesla. Had a great story, but once it showed up on this repeat offenders list, watch out below. Rivian tanked by as much as 50%. And here, look at ChargePoint Holdings. When this popular energy stock hit the worst offenders list, it was more toxic than radioactive waste, losing more than half its value over the following year.
These really are toxic stocks. I mean, if you held a couple of those in your portfolio, you would have been cut in half.
Yeah, and most people, they never see it coming. But once a stock becomes a repeat offender, it's time to get out of Dodge. And right now, my system just alerted me to 3 surprising repeat offenders.
Surprising repeat offenders. So those would be 3 stocks that many folks could be holding right now, just like the stocks that you just showed us. And they could be ticking time bombs sitting in regular folks' portfolios.
Right. And that's why I'm also handing each new charter member a free special report that lays out the 3 surprising repeat offenders to dump right now. You'll find it waiting for you in your welcome portal as soon as you register. I recommend you read it immediately.
Absolutely, Jason. Well, it's clear that you have pulled out all the stops to look out for your members. So now, the question that we are all dying to know, what is the cost to becoming a charter member of Quantum Edge Trader?
Miriam, When I initially showed my smart tech machine to my editor, I knew it was a gold mine. I mean, if all you could do was get the 30 smartest minds on Wall Street to teach you their secrets and guide you on your investment decisions, your financial future could be set forever. But by uploading these same secrets into smart tech and uniting their ideas so they can work together, we can run them against every major publicly traded company every day in seconds. And that, my friends, unlocks an entirely new level of precision.
Jason, that would be a very exciting position. And it explains why you've been offered millions to sell it, but you never took any of those offers. Why is that?
Well, really, it's because this new smart tech world we're entering into will leave too many hardworking Americans in the lurch. I really wanted it to be as accessible as possible, which is why I don't want price to be the reason folks get left behind. So even though access to my smart tech could easily run $5,000 for just a few picks, folks won't pay anywhere near that today. Nope, in just a few moments, you won't even pay anything close to half that. Because if you join my Quantum Edge Trader service right now, you can have everything I've mentioned here today for a remarkably low $49.
That's incredibly generous, Jason. All right, we have covered a lot. So let me quickly recap everything our viewers get by becoming a founding member of Quantum Edge Trader today. The first thing you'll get as a founding member is a confidential email with the details of how to reach his smart tech's most recent urgent buy recommendation, along with a private email inviting you to join the Quantum Edge Trader restricted website. Now, once you're logged in, you'll immediately get access to all of the training materials that Jason and his brilliant team have created, which includes the Quantum Edge Trader's Handbook and the Quantum Edge Masterclass. That's where you'll also find Jason's brand new report called The 3 Persistent Performers to Watch Right Now, which again details the 3 persistent performers that consistently show up on his list of top picks, as well as your second free bonus report, The 3 Surprising Repeat Offenders to Dump Right Now.
In short, you get the complete smart tech package. So you can finally put yourself in a position to benefit from smart tech while everyone else will get crushed by it.
That's a very long list of benefits that founding members will get by joining today. I've got to say, Jason, it's nice to see you bring so much value to the table, considering how fast the world is starting to change. It's hard to feel a sense of calm in this storm, but Quantum Edge Trader sounds like the answer that thousands, if not millions of us have been looking for.
Well, not done yet. There's another benefit I wanted to extend to people who decide to join me on this journey and become a founding member today. And that benefit is to make Quantum Edge Trader virtually risk-free. In other words, if for whatever reason you're not satisfied with Quantum Edge Trader, simply let us know during the first 60 days and you'll receive a full refund for every penny you paid. And you can hang on to all the work you've received.
Wow, you are really pulling out all the stops. To be clear, you're saying that our viewers today don't have to worry about losing a cent on this subscription, and they still get to take advantage of one of the most powerful new technologies in the history of investing.
That is what I'm saying, Miriam. I'm getting rid of every excuse today.
Excellent, excellent. So do you want to say anything else before we sign off?
Well, first off, I want to thank every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules. I know how valuable time is, believe me. This may be the most critical and timely message I have ever delivered. I've done everything in my power to make joining my new Quantum Edge Trader service a no-brainer. Right now, you can become a charter member of my new service for only $49 and add the power of smart tech to your portfolio.
Plus, with your guarantee, folks risk absolutely nothing, literally, by giving it a try.
Exactly. So if you want the chance to use smart tech to catch up and accelerate your retirement and get in on the stocks that are primed to shoot up 100% or more in returns in the coming months, then joining Quantum Edge Trader is the smartest decision you can make right now. You don't want to be one of the unfortunate souls who get left behind. I believe this world is shifting into a new era where only those who can leverage the power of smart tech will succeed. An era of inhuman speed, inhuman performance, and inhuman results. And I want you to harness that power. I want you to emerge as a real winner in this new world. That's what Quantum Edge Trader is for. And I promise, a year from now, you'll look back at today as one of the moments that drastically changed everything for you. I truly believe this service is going to change the lives of millions of forward-thinking Americans over the next few years. And I hope you are one of them. You have a chance to be one of the first today. I truly appreciate your time and thank you for watching.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you'd like to secure your spot as a new member to Jason Bodner's Quantum Edge Trader, please click the button on your screen and go to the secure sign-up page. With that said, I'm Miriam Issa signing off. Thank you so much for watching.